We're at the end of These Be the Words, Dabarim, Deuteronomy, which we have been studying for several weeks or months now, and it's been a blessing. And I am again, I just want to make sure I express. I have been teaching. The Most High has called me to teach His word a long time ago. Like He first called me to teach His word, and I was conscious of it probably I'd say maybe about now 35 years ago, maybe a little more than that. But I myself am still learning. And I believe that all of the Most High's people will always be continually learning. Learning is something that the Most High gives us as a gift. And the deep truths of Himself, the righteousness, His spirit, His eternal existence will continue to be learning and getting deeper in throughout the ceaseless ages as we go into the kingdom. And so as I'm looking at His word and as I read through His word year by year, I'm always learning more things. And as I study this book, the book of Deuteronomy, I'm learning more things. And one of the things I wanted to share with you is from this present study that we've gone through, I've come to the understanding that the book of Deuteronomy really is the most important book of the Old Testament. It's one of the most important books in the whole Bible. It really is. And that's why it's called the book of the law. That is why it was the one book. As we read through the Bible, I've not seen any place where the Most High told His people that, when you get a king, your king is got to get a personal copy of this book. And your king should have this book read to him every year. And not only that, he said every year when they have the year of the feast of release, the feast of the of release of all debt, when they have that, they read this book as well. That's during the Feast of Tabernacles. They read this book as well. And so the Jubilee, when they had the Jubilee, that's what I was looking for. They were going to read this book. So this book is extremely important to the nation of Israel. And you can see why as we study through it, because obviously it has our history in it. It has the Most High's covenant is recorded in this book, as well, of course, as our future. The future state of the nation. All the things we were going to go through and are going through are in the book of Deuteronomy. Now, in the New Testament, the other book that relates to that is the book of Revelation, right? Because Revelation talks about past, present, and future. Revelation is also talking about the nation of Israel and the chosen people. And so you have both of these books are extremely important. Daniel has also been called by the Most High as a book that is for the end time people. And we're going to look at Daniel. Obviously, we're going to look at Daniel a lot as we're studying the book of Revelation. But Daniel is also called a book that actually was closed up and sealed until the time of the end. This is a book for the end time people. So it's closed up and sealed. So these three, Deuteronomy, Daniel, and Revelation, are extremely, extremely important. And we're just reading through Deuteronomy. We're just getting so much. And as I come through this, again, I'm coming to the conclusion that this book of Deuteronomy is a very important book for the nation of Israel. And again, we talked about the awakening, right? We talked about the awakening that is now taking place as we are now this year. I don't know how long this recording will be out in the web space or whatever, but this is 2018, and the awakening of the nation of Israel is happening. It is in full force and full effect, and it's happening all over the earth. People are awakening as to who we really are, because a lot of so-called African Americans and so-called Black people that are scattered in different nations of the first world. When I say the first world, you have the first world, I don't know why they call it that, but the industrialized nations, and then you have the third world countries. But the first world, which is like the industrialized nations, are officially by the UN, they're the United States, Canada, Japan, Germany, France, England, Spain, Italy. I think that's the G8. Then they're including India, Brazil, and China as well. But these nations are, have mostly Sons of Yafet in them, but they have been in there with the Hebrews are scattered in these places. And in these places, the majority of these places, especially the United States, the people that are Hebrew in the United States, for the most of the history of the United States, never knew who they were. Okay? That, I mean, that's just the fact. I mean, you hear what I'm saying? I mean, they just never knew who they were. Okay? And I don't like when people try to downplay that, because the people to me that are trying to downplay that are working for the enemy. Because the Irish people that come in from Ireland know they come from Ireland. They know who their ancestors from Ireland are. The people that come here from Italy, they know they're from Italy. They know who their ancestors from Italy are. The people that come from Japan or China or Taiwan, the people that come here from India or Bangladesh or Pakistan, the people that come here from Afghanistan, the people that come here from Germany, the people that come here from Greece, the people that come here from all of these nations know who they are. They know who their ancestors were. They know how they got here. All the people except one. There's one people, don't know who they are. They know they got here on ships in chains. They were brought here to be slaves, and they don't know what else. They say, well, you came from West Africa. Well, where in West Africa? They don't even know. Okay? Didn't know who they were. And now we're reading in this book that the Caucasian man beat us over the head with white Jesus and Christianity. We start to look at this book, and it's not accidental. And we find ourselves eventually in our search for finding who we are and where we come from. We find ourselves in Deuteronomy 28, right? And as we're reading Deuteronomy 28, we're saying, wait a minute, dang, that's how we've been treated. Dang, that sounds like us. I mean, dang, we came on slave ships. I mean, what? And this awakening process is happening all over the earth, with Black people understanding they are the bloodline of Abraham. Because this is the same way that we understand that the Roman Catholic Church is the great horse, the same way. And how you say, how does that happen? Well, you read in the Bible about a nation that's recognized and described as iron. You read about a nation that's described as iron, a kingdom, and they say out of this iron kingdom, it comes from the north. And it comes from the north, and out of this iron kingdom, is situated in Rome. In Rome, Italy, there's going to come a power of religion that's going to be worldwide in its influence. And this power of religion that's worldwide in its influence, that the Bible shows us comes out of Rome, would be led by one man. And this man would try to do away, and his religion tries to do away with the covenant that Moses gave us. And his religion creates their own system of practices that the Bible did not give us. And it's based in Rome, and it comes from Europe. And there's only one religion with this setup that we know of, is the Roman Catholic Church. Now, the Bible never says Roman Catholic Church, but as you read all the evidence, it only points to one people. Do y'all understand what I'm saying? And we're going to look at that. We're going to definitely look at that as we study the book of Revelation. But I'm saying to you, that's how we come to the conclusion. The Bible points you in a direction, and it points you to a specific direction. And then as you put all the evidence that is pointing you two together, there's an obvious conclusion. It's the same with the Israelites. There's a group of people that were rebelled so hard against the Most High that he said, I'm going to take you away from your land. I'm going to scatter you throughout the four corners of the earth. And all the people of the earth are going to be above you. You're going to be a byword among people. You're going to be the most diseased of all people. You're going to be the most afflicted of all people. You're going to be taken in slave ships across the ocean, in chains about your neck. And you're going to be in a strange land. And they're going to treat you badly. And you're going to be hung from trees. and your sons and your daughters will be taken from you. And as you look at that, you say, well, what group of people have come across the ocean in slave ships? What group of people are a byword where they call you nigger and coon and porch monkey? I mean, what group of people are the most heart disease and diabetes and cancer? What group of people is that? And as you look at it, it can only be one. There's only one. Okay? And so there you know how you are. So we look at Deuteronomy 28 and we start discovering the awakening as to who we are. And then all of a sudden we look at Deuteronomy 30 and guess what? It prophesies of the awakening that we're talking about. It prophesies of it. So this book of Deuteronomy is extremely important. It's extremely important. Okay? I can't emphasize, or could I say, I can't overemphasize its importance to the awakening process and to what we're going through here and to where we're going. Okay? So now, we're at the last two chapters of this very powerful book, of this very important book, Deuteronomy. And again, I don't know how many times I've read the book of Deuteronomy through. I can't tell you. As many times I've read the Bible through, which I think is 15 or 16, I can't remember now. But I know that I've read the book of Deuteronomy through more times than I've read the Bible through, and still learning. And so through this here, I'm realizing the importance of this book. And so we praise the Most High God. And so now we're in chapter 33. And let's start at chapter 33. I'm going to start at verse 1, and I'm going to stop there for a second. Stop at verse 1 and stop there. This is the blessing. Deuteronomy 33 and verse 1. Deuteronomy 33 and verse 1. And this is the blessing wherewith Moses, the man of the Most High, blessed the children of Yasharal before his death. Now, let's stop here for a second. There's some amazing things that we need to consider. What do I mean by that? I know it's hard for people to believe, okay? And that's why I always preface this by saying what I'm getting ready to tell you. I believe that the King James Bible, which was mostly translated by the pen of a man named William Tyndale, and later a group of scholars got together to finish what Tyndale had started. That this Englishman of the sons of Japhet was used to translate this book, to give it to the Hebrew people who the words were originally given to for the last days of Earth's history. I believe that this book is holy, set apart, and preserved for the time that we live in. And it's part of the awakening of the nation. I believe that. And so now, people may not believe that, and that's okay. See, this is the thing I've also, as you guys who know the ministry, heard the messages, I want you to, this message is not for everybody. The whole earth is going to be affected, but not everybody is going to receive it, not by a long shot. Only a remnant. Okay? And so when it gets rejected by people and people start, you get the trolls that come on and say all kind of things about the videos. I don't really care. I'm not trying to sound harsh, and I'm not trying to sound arrogant. I'm just time is so short, ox and a cost, brothers and sisters. The Most High Son is so ready to leave the most holy place and return. I don't have time to care about that. Okay, I really don't. All I have time to do is go by the message of conviction that the Most High has placed on my heart. That's all I could do. I believe there's a creator with a spirit of righteousness and that he is revealing himself to us through this word, through this book, the Bible. And so everything that I believe is wrapped up in this book. It really is. Everything I believe is wrapped up in it. Okay. And if it's not in this book, I really don't want to hear it because I really don't care. That's just how it is. Okay. And so one of the amazing things I wanted to share with you, and I know it's hard for people to receive, is that the Most High chose a particular man that walked this earth named Abraham. Now, maybe he chose Abraham because Abraham was the only one that was faithful or going to be faithful to this truth. Maybe he chose Abraham because Abraham was something about Abraham he saw that was going to cause him to be close to the Most High and give his message. I don't know. But he chose Abraham after the flood, of the lineage of Shem and Eber or Ebel. He chose Abraham. And through Abraham, he chose Abraham to have a particular son. Now, Abraham had many children, but he chose this one child, Yashak, who people call Isaac. He chose Yashak, that through Yashak's seed, the nation that he promised to Abraham would be established through this one man. And then Yashak had twin sons, Esau, who was later called Adam, which is where we get the word Adam and man from. Adam, Edom is Adam. Okay, it means ruddy. So you got him, and then you had Yaakov, the other boy, the slick one. He changed Yaakov's name to Yashar Al, which means right with the Most High. And through Yashar Al, he intends to create an eternal kingdom that will never be destroyed. It will never be given to other people. It's going to be the seed of Yaakov, of Yashak, and of Abraham. And it's going to be those also who are, through the plan of salvation, grafted in to that nation. Okay? And he has chosen this nation, the seed of Yasha'al, the Bible says, above all the people that ever exist on the planet of the earth. I know that's hard to believe, but he has chosen this people. And we know that this people fell through transgression. And as they fell through transgression, the Most High, in his infinite and foreknowledge, he used their fall to bring in to the nation people that were not born of the seed of Abraham, Yashak, and Yaakov. So that in the first century AD, you had people coming in as part of the nation. They are grafted in as adopted into the nation. And they also will be blessed. But then the situation changed. And the Israelites that had taught these former Gentiles the truth died. And they were scattered, the ones that were left alive. And they were placed in chains. And they were killed. And the Gentiles that were left started changing what was delivered to them. Remember, it said we should earnestly contend for the faith that was once delivered unto the saints. Remember, the scripture says that in Jude, we should earnestly contend for the faith that was once delivered unto the saints. Well, the faith that was delivered initially to the Gentiles was the same faith of Abraham, Yashak, and Yaakov, which is the same faith that Messiah came to illustrate to the nation of Israel, the same faith. But somehow it got changed so that this new religion called Christianity came out. Of course, it came from Gog and Magog, from the sons of Japheth. And then that developed, and now you had this Bible that was actually translated by a Christian. And it was a faithful translation. How do I know that? How do I know it's a faithful translation? Well, if it's an unfaithful translation, there's a couple of things you should be able to see. First, if it's unfaithful, it would favor the writer or some group of people the writer wants to favor that he's related to, generally. Or would favor the writer's culture. How do we know that? We know that from experience, because over the course of the last 2,000 years, we've been getting bombarded with white Jesus. And who gave us white Jesus? Did the African man give us white Jesus? Did the Indian man give us white Jesus? Did it come from the Chinese man? No, it came from the sons of Japheth. They have been bombarding us with this white Jesus because why? They want us to show that they are the direct descendants of white Jesus and that they are superior. That's the whole object. So you'd expect from that same group of people, if they were going to translate a Bible, it would favor them. But this Bible does not. Then there are those that say, well, King James was a homosexual. How could you take a Bible that's from a homosexual? Well, if you're implying that because King James may have been or may not have been, or let's assume for the sake of argument, was a homosexual, then you would think that the translation, if you're implying that this book is defiled because of that, that you would think that the translation would favor the homosexual. But quite the opposite occurs in the book. You would think that it would favor Caucasian people and homosexuals. It does neither. William Tyndale was a Roman Catholic priest. So you would think that if it was going to favor any church or any religion, it would be Roman Catholicism. Right? Yeah, I mean, that's logical. But quite the opposite. It condemns in the strongest terms the Roman Catholic Church. So here you have, it condemns the church of the man that translated it. It condemns his race of people. It condemns his king, the homosexual, if he was. Condemns all of that. It shows you that the chosen people were people of color, which weren't big time around as far as population in England at the time of this translation. Therefore, I conclude that it's a faithful translation. Okay? It's a faithful translation. That's why I come to that conclusion. And so starting in this 33 verse 1, Moses is blessing this particular nation of Israel. This blessing is not to the Egyptians, the Babylonians, the Edomites, the Philistines, the Canaanites. It's not to the Orientals, the English. It's not to any. He's blessing the children of Israel. And as we started off in the book, that starts off with the title, These Be the Words, Adabarim. Notice Adabarim, chapter 1 and verse 1. Notice chapter 1 and verse 1. The book is finishing just as it started. Notice as it started, these be the words which Moses spake to all Israel. That's Deuteronomy 1:1. These be the words which Moses spake to all Israel. So now he starts off speaking words to them and he finishes off blessing them. Now, we need to understand, as we have who studied this book do understand, but for those that are listening and may not have studied this book in detail, I want you to understand that all through the book, whenever Moses says something, he says, Yahweh, it says Yahweh or the Lord spake to Moses saying. Did you ever notice that? He never spoke on his own. He said, the Lord spake or Yahweh spake to Moses saying. So now you're having Moses as an intercessor, an intermediary between the Creator and the chosen people. And now, right now, as I'm speaking to you, there is still a mediator between the Creator and the chosen people. The only difference is the mediator is not Moses. The mediator is the man they call Jesus, who the Israelites know as Yahushai, some as Yahushua, but some as Yeshaya. Let me not miss that one. Some people say Yeshaya, some say Yahushua, and some say Yahushai. I choose Yahushai, but that's just me. So he is the intercessor between the Creator, who is his Father, and the chosen people right now. He is the intercessor right now. So Moses is in that regard, is an object lesson or a type of Messiah. He's not the Messiah, but he's an object lesson of the Messiah. Just like the Messiah is a type or an object lesson of the Father, he is not the Father, but he is an object lesson what the Father would be like. Are y'all understanding that? I'm trying to get that, that whole Trinity thing cleared up for some people. People say, is Jesus God? Is he God? He's not the Father. He is Messiah. He is the Father's Son. He is in a position that we can worship him, and the Bible showed people worshiping him. But he himself points us to the Father to be worshiped. He is not the Father. He is the one that is representing the Father to us on earth when he came to the earth as a man. He's a representation of what the Father's will and character are like. He is a representation in living form of the covenant. Well, now, Moses is a representation of Messiah in this book of Deuteronomy. He is not the Messiah, okay? But he is representing Messiah because he's interceding between the Father and the nation. And so here, as he's blessing the nation, it is actually the Father blessing the nation. Are you following me so far? Testing 1, 2, 3. Are you with me? Okay, good. I want to make sure we're clear on these things. I try to be as clear and succinct so that a child can understand it by the grace of the Most High Spirit. So now, he's going to bless the nation before he dies. Okay? He's blessing this chosen people, chosen above all the people of the earth. He's already shown them, you're going to rebel against the Most High. Y'all going to mess up bad. He's going to end up kicking you off the land. You're going to get put into slavery, and the slavery is going to be much worse than what you dealt with in Egypt. You're going to mess up. But he's going to get you back. Don't worry. He's going to gather you back. You're going to go through some stuff. Heavy. Stuff that's going to last for thousands of years. But you're going to come back. And you're going to be in this land. And you're going to be his people. And he's going to be your Elohim. So now, verse 2. Deuteronomy chapter 33 and verse 2. Notice what it says. And Yahweh came from Sinai and rose up from Seir unto them. He shined forth from Mount Paran and came with 10,000s of saints. From his right hand went a fiery law for them. Now, let's stop here, because this message is repeated by the prophet Habakkuk, and we're going to look at that. This message is repeated by Habakkuk, excuse me. So apparently, I used to be confused by this, but I'm coming to certain conclusions which I want to share with you. Apparently, Mount Sinai in the Sinai Peninsula was at one time counted as part of the land given to Seir, which we know Seir was the Edomite nation of Esau. And when he say came from Sinai, I mean, we're talking about, of course, when he met with the nation there. Remember, Moses first saw the Most High in that mountain. The Most High said, this is a sign I'm going to give you. When I deliver the nation through your hand, you're going to worship me on this mountain. It was Sinai. And so he's now given us, he said, he rose up from Seir unto them and shined forth from Paran and came with 10,000s of his saints. From his right hand went a fiery law. So you're now getting in a picture of what it looked like the day that he gave them the covenant. You hear what I'm saying? You're getting a picture of what it looked like the day he gave them the covenant. That's why they were told, don't touch the mountain, don't come near. That's why they were so scared that they told Moses, you go talk to him, because if he keeps talking to us, we're going to die. Because now they understood that there was a creator. See, you say, well, why didn't they understand before this? I mean, they saw the plagues, they saw the Red Sea part. I mean, they saw that he was covering them by the cloud, but now they heard his voice. It wasn't Moses speaking as an intermediary when they were on Mount Sinai. They heard the very voice of the creator. And Moses testified, as we saw in the book of Deuteronomy, Moses testified as to why they only heard a voice and they did not see him. I'm going to quiz you right now. Did you remember when we studied the book of Deuteronomy, why He didn't let them see him, but he told them they're going to hear him, and he did not want them to see him. I mean, I'm going to take this off the table. Aside from the fact that if they saw him, they were going to die because they can't see him and live. But he didn't let them see him at all. Moses at least saw a shadow of him or saw the back parts of him. He didn't let the regular nation see him at all. He just let them hear his voice. Now, why was that? There was a specific reason that Moses, the man of the Most High, gave to our fathers as to why he didn't let them see him in any capacity. Do you remember why? Any of y'all? I mean, when I give it to you, you're going to say, oh, yeah, that's right. No, that's why I took that off the table. I took that off the table. That's another one. Yes, that's true. Sakat, yes, because they couldn't see him and live. But yes, Sister Kimmy, that's it. That's it. Let's turn to Deuteronomy chapter 4. Deuteronomy chapter 4. And remember, this is important now, and especially for you former SDAs, as the SDA church focuses exclusively on the fourth commandment. I mean, they let everybody know about the fourth commandment, right? I mean, the fourth commandment is everything to them. I mean, it's everything, right? I mean, it's seventh day, called Seventh Day Adventists after all, right? And they're saying, but they're most prominent of the 7-day churches, I'd say, the most prominent of them, because in terms of numbers, is the SDA church, right? And so they make a big deal out of the fourth commandment. But I want to tell you, I'm not saying that it's not a big deal. As a matter of fact, Messiah said that to love Yahweh with all your heart, all your soul, all your mind, all your strength is the most important commandment. But to the Most High, as we read through the book of Deuteronomy, we can see that the most important commandment to him is the first one. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. I mean, do you agree? I mean, as we read through this book, how often would he say, don't worship any other gods? Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Don't make any image. Keep my commandments, statutes, and judgments. Don't worship any other gods. I am jealous. Don't do it. So here in Deuteronomy chapter 4, he makes that point. Deuteronomy chapter 4. We're going to begin at verse 9 and go down to verse down to verse 19. From verse 9 to 19. Notice what it said. Only take heed to thyself and keep thy soul diligently, lest thou forget the things which thy eyes have seen, lest they depart from thy heart all the days of thy life. But teach them thy sons and thy sons' sons, especially the day that thou stoodest before Yahweh thy Elohim in Oreb, when Yahweh said unto me, gather me the people together, and I will make them hear my words, that they may learn to fear me all the days that they shall live upon the earth, that they may teach their children. And ye came near and stood under the mountain, and the mountain burned with fire unto the midst of heaven, with darkness, clouds, and thick darkness. And Yahweh spake unto you out of the midst of the fire. Ye heard the voice of the words, but ye saw no similitude, only ye heard a voice. And he declared unto you his covenant, which he commanded you to perform, even 10 commandments. And he wrote them upon 2 tables of stone. And Yahweh commanded me at that time to teach you statutes and judgments, that ye might do them in the land whither ye go over to possess it. Take ye therefore good heed unto yourself, for ye saw no manner of similitude on the day that Yahweh spake unto you in Oreb out of the midst of the fire, lest ye corrupt yourselves and make you a graven image, the similitude of any figure, the likeness of male or female, the likeness of any beast that is on the earth, the likeness of any winged fowl that flieth in the air, the likeness of anything that creepeth on the ground, the likeness of any fish that is in the waters beneath the earth, lest thou lift up thy eyes unto heaven, and when thou seest the sun and the moon and the stars, even all the host of heaven, shouldst be driven to worship them and serve them, which Yahweh thy Elohim hath divided unto all nations under the whole heaven. So as you can see, he is very, very adamant about not having any other gods, about not creating any image or any likeness of anything to worship. That is why the pictures and images of white Jesus are abominable and offensive. Not just white Jesus, of any Jesus. Why do I say that? Because some person just say, well, it's just art. No, it's not just art, because Messiah is an object of worship. Are you understanding what I'm saying? Messiah is an object of worship. And I'm not talking about what man decides is an object of worship. No, no, no. I'm talking about the Most High has declared that we should give honor to his son. Therefore, he is an object of worship. Therefore, there should be no image made of him or his father. Are you following me? Testing 1, 2, 3. That is why the white Jesus is an abomination to the Most High Yah. Somebody said, what about black Jesus? Any image that is made, whether he be white, black, Chinese, Indian, or anything else, it is abominable to the Most High. But I particularly focus on the so-called white one. And the reason I do is because that is the most prominent one that we've been bombarded with for the last 500 years or so, right? Are we in agreement on that? Yes, Mary is a goddess. They worship her as a goddess. When they create images of Mary, they are creating a goddess because people worship it. And people actually do worship Mary. It is abominable. Mary was a Hebrew woman. She was not a Caucasian woman. She was a Hebrew woman. Okay. So Yahweh came from Sinai and rose up from Seir and unto them, and he shined forth from Paran and came with 10,000s of saints from his right hand with a fiery law for them. Let's compare that to Habakkuk. Let's compare it to the prophet Habakkuk. Now Habakkuk obviously was much later in time than Moses, much later, of course. He was the Habakkuk came at a time, actually, Habakkuk came at a time when Israel was being punished for its sins against the Most High. Israel and Judah, yes. And so now we're going to look at Habakkuk chapter 3, and notice the similarity here. It's Habakkuk chapter 3. I'm going to read from verse 1. I'm going to read from verse 1 down to verse 6. Okay, notice what it says. A prayer of Habakkuk, the prophet of Shigionoth. O Yahweh, I have heard thy speech and was afraid. O Yahweh, revive thy work in the midst of the years. In the midst of the years, make known. In wrath, remember mercy. The Most High came from Teman, and the Holy One from Mount Paran. Salah. His glory covered the heavens, and the earth was full of his praise. And his brightness was as the light. He had horns coming out of his hand, and there was the hiding of his power. Before him went the pestilence, and burning coals went forth at his feet. He stood and measured the earth. He beheld and drove asunder the nations, and the everlasting mountains were scattered, and perpetual hills did bow. His ways are everlasting. Praise the Most High. Habakkuk. It's in English. Yeah, Habakkuk. Habakkuk chapter 3. Habakkuk comes, Sister Josie. It comes, is Nahum, comes, is Micah, Jonah, Micah, Nahum, Habakkuk, then Zephaniah, then Haggai, then Zechariah, then Malachi. Yeah. The verses are chapter 3 from verses 1 through 6. I'll read it again. I have no problem. I'll read it again. Habakkuk chapter 3, verses 1 through 6. This is the prayer of Habakkuk, the prophet. And it's very similar to what was said here by Moses in Deuteronomy. Let's take a look. A prayer of Habakkuk, the prophet of Shigionoth. O Yahweh, I have heard thy speech and was afraid. O Yahweh, revive thy work in the midst of the years. In the midst of the years make known. In wrath, Remember mercy. The Most High came from Teman, and the Holy One, or the set apart one, from Mount Paran. Salah. His glory covered the heavens, and the earth was full of his praise. His brightness was as the light. He had horns coming out of his hand, and there was the hiding of his power. Before him went the pestilence, and burning coals went before at his feet. He stood and measured the earth. He beheld and drove asunder the nations, and the everlasting mountains were scattered. The perpetual hills did bow. His ways are everlasting. So look, it said horns coming out of his hand, and there was the hiding of his power. So you can see that horns represent power. Horns in the Bible represent power. Units or nations or persons of power. Whenever the Bible talks about horns, it's talking about power. As a matter of fact, when Messiah told Paul or Shaul, it is hard for thee to kick against the pricks. Remember that when Shaul was coming down from, and he went on the road to Damascus, and he said it's hard for thee. The word pricks is the word horns, or ox goads. It's horns. And so basically, what he's saying is it's hard for you to fight against the power. That's what he was telling them. It's hard for you, bruh, to fight against the power. There's a power that's in the people you're going after that you cannot fight against. Right? And he showed up in his form as a bright light, blindingly so that for the rest of his life, the apostle, although he got his sight back, he had something wrong with his eyes. It was like Jacob's limp. So he said, it's hard for you to fight against the power. So the horns represent power. And that's why he said, out of his right hand came power. And here in Moses, he said, from his right hand came a fiery law. So the law is representing the power. Are you understanding me so far? Let's go back to Deuteronomy chapter 33. So he said, verse 2, and he said, Yahweh came from Sinai and rose up from Mount Paran. Rose up from Seir unto them. He shined forth from Mount Paran. He came with 10,000s of saints. From his right hand went forth a fiery law. See? And then Habakkuk said, from his right hand came forth horns, power. So the law is representing as power. Are you understanding? Testing 1, 2, 3. So his law, his covenant, which he gave on Mount Sinai, is power. And that's why also we talk about the two witnesses, which have power, because his law is his character. It is representing also with his spirit, and his spirit is a spirit of perfect righteousness. It is power. Praise the Most High Yah. That is why whenever somebody says, I was filled with the Spirit, but I'm going to have this bacon, and I'm going to eat this pork, and I'm going to keep Sunday, they might be filled with a spirit, but it is not the Holy One. Right. The Bible says there are many false prophets in the world. Try the spirits. And the Most High Spirit is going to be in complete and perfect, absolute harmony with the covenant. Absolute, complete harmony. Because the law is power, and it's at his right hand, which is the hand of power. Okay? The right hand. There you go. So, the right hand of fellowship and power and law, it all goes together. I just love how it all comes together. We praise the Most High Yah. So back to Deuteronomy. So now he is continuing. Moses continuing. We're going to start at verse 3, and we're going to read down. We're going to read a little faster. We're going to go from verse 3, and we're going to go down to verse 5 for now, 3 to 5. Yea, he loved the people. All his saints are in thy hand, and they sat down at thy feet. Every one shall receive thy words. Moses commanded us a law, even the inheritance of the congregation of Yaakov. He was king in Yashar Rawan. Let me say it right. It says Jeshurun, but it's pronounced Yashar Rawan. He was king in Yashar Rawan. That is a word for right with the Most High again, right with the Most High, like Israel, Yashar Al. He was king in Yashar Rawan, when the heads of the people and the tribes of Yashar Al were gathered together. Praise the Most High. So Moses was a leader of the Most High's people, no denying that. And the Bible is saying here, he's showing him he was set up as a king. He was set up over the tribes, and now Moses is going to bless the tribes. Now, I want to just point out something that's kind of strange. I found it kind of strange. Moses blesses all the names of the tribes except one in chapter 33. I mean, it's just kind of strange. The one that he leaves out. I don't know why it's left out. I can't explain it, but it's left out. He blesses all the tribes, but he leaves out one. You know which one it is? Guess. Y'all know, I mean, if you studied it, you'd know, but you may not know. So no, Dan was not left out. He mentions Dan in this blessing. He got Dan in there. Yasharawan is the nation of Israel, so he's blessing them. It's not that. He got Dan in there. Dan is in there. Dan is there. Dan is in verse 22. So it's not Dan. It's definitely one of Jacob's sons, and he leaves one out. I don't know why he left him out, but he left him out. It's Simeon. Simeon is not mentioned. Simeon is not mentioned. I don't know why Simeon is not mentioned personally. I mean, he mentions all the rest of them personally, but he does not mention Simeon. I don't know why. Maybe he's oversight. Yes, Simeon's not mentioned. Now, Simeon is mentioned obviously in the books of Deuteronomy. Simeon is mentioned many times, but and of course, he's obviously one of the 12 sons of Yaakov. So he's definitely, but he's not mentioned in chapter 33. When Moses is going through blessing each nation, Simeon is not mentioned. And also, of course, we know that Jacob, or Yaakov, blessed, he blessed all 12 of his sons. He gave them a final parting word before he put his feet up in his bed and died. He gave them parting words, a blessing on each of them. But, and of course, in his blessing to his children, he mentioned all 12 of his children. He did not mention by name Ephraim and Manasseh, because he mentioned Joseph, and Joseph is the father of Ephraim and Manasseh. But here Moses mentions Joseph, Ephraim, and Manasseh. He mentions all three, but he does not mention Simeon. Now, the thing about Yaakov, when he blesses his sons, Yaakov blesses them in the order of their birth. When you look at Genesis 49, he blesses them in the order of their birth. And he goes starting with Reuben, and he goes all the way down to Benjamin or Benjamin. And Benjamin's the last one because Benjamin was the youngest. So he blesses them in order of their birth. But Moses doesn't do it that way. Kind of goes all over the place. And with the children of Israel. And he mentions the first five he mentions are Judah, Levi. Then he mentions Benjamin. Then he mentions Joseph with Ephraim and Manasseh. These are the first five that he mentioned. I don't know why he does that, but this is how he did it. We can't say nothing critical about it. It's just the way it is, right? Nope, Simeon never left the tribes. No, Simeon didn't leave the tribes. It was Dan that had the issues. Dan had the issues later on. And that's why Dan is not mentioned among the 144,000. Dan is mentioned as one of the 12 gates on the city, but he's not mentioned among the 144,000. Okay. And there are some that, I don't want to call it a guess or hypothesize, but they think that the Ashkenazis that are of Hebrew descent are the tribe of Dan. That's why they're not mentioned among the 144,000. But I don't know. I'm just telling you what I heard. I don't know. Okay. Yeah, I don't know, but Reuben is mentioned, and Reuben slept with his father's wife. So I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I don't know why he's not mentioned. Like I said, we just be guessing. I don't know. I'm just telling you that he's not mentioned here. And if anybody ever asks you, they'll say, well, why is not Simeon mentioned in chapter 34? I don't know why. It just is what it is. And this is the thing, brothers. Is remember what the Most High told us in this very book of Deuteronomy. Remember what he told us, what he shared with us. What he said to us. He said in chapter 29, he said in verse 29, he said, the secret things belong unto Yahweh our Elohim, but those things which are revealed belong unto us and to our children forever, that we may do all the words of this law. So you know, this is not revealed. Now, yeah, I thought about that too, because Jacob or Yaakov, he tied Levi and Simeon together. And I'm thinking maybe Moses is thinking the same thing here, or maybe the translators just didn't put Simeon's name with Levi. I don't know. You know, when they got the scrolls, maybe they didn't put Simeon's name in there. I don't know, but it's not in there. It's not in there. So I just wanted to let y'all know that as we get started. So let's look at Deuteronomy chapter 33. I'm going to read from verse 6 down to verse, let's see, 11, which is covering Reuben and Levi, Rawaban and Levi. Let's take a look at that. Let Reuben live and not die, and let not his men be few. And this is the blessing of Yahweh or Judah. And he said, hear, Yahweh, the voice of Yahweh, and bring him unto his people. Let his hands be sufficient for him, and be thou an help to him from his enemies. And of Levi he said, let thy Tumim and thy Urim be with thy Holy One, whom thou didst prove at Massa, and with whom thou didst strive at the waters of Meribah, who said unto his father and to his mother, I have not seen him, neither did he acknowledge his brethren, nor knew his own children, for they have observed thy word and kept thy covenant. They shall teach Yaakov thy judgments, and Yashar'al thy law. And they shall put incense before thee, and whole burnt sacrifice upon thine altar. Bless Yahweh, his substance, and accept the work of his hands. Smite through the loins of them that rise against him, and of them that hate him, that they rise not again. Praise the Most High. So he blesses Reuben with a one sentence, let not his men be few. And then he blesses Judah, as he obviously would, because Judah is, the Bible says, the law giver. This is what Yaakov said, the lawgiver shall not depart from his feet until Shiloh, or how it actually is, Shayala. They say Shiloh, but it's Shayala. Shayala is the word for the Messiah. And so Yaakov was already shown Messiah was going to come from Judah. Moses obviously knew that too. So he's telling, let his hands be sufficient, be thou a help to him from his enemies. And then Levi, well, he really blesses Levi. I don't want to say Moses being biased. Obviously Moses was from the tribe of Levi, but I will say this. You recall when Moses went up into the mountain to receive the statutes and judgments from the Most High, that Aaron built a calf of gold, and the children of the tribes were worshiping this calf of gold. But there was one tribe that stayed faithful, and that was Levi. Moses said, who is on Yahweh's side? And all the sons of Levi came to his side. And he sent the Lawayim, the Levites, out, and he said, go smite all your brethren that bow to this calf, smite them. And they went through, and they went through with their swords, and they went through smiting the children of Israel. And I forgot how many died. I think it was 3,000 died. Let me see here. That's Exodus chapter 32. Let's see. Let's see. Yeah, Exodus chapter 32. Oh, wait. Let me see here. Let me see. I'm trying to, it is Exodus 32, but I'm trying to find something here. Yeah, here it is. Here it is. It's Exodus chapter 32. I'm going to read from verse, let's see, 26, from verse 26 down to verse 28. Exodus 32, from verse 26 down to verse 28. Notice what it says. Then Moses stood in the gate of the camp. This is after he came down and busted them having orgies and stuff and worshiping the golden calf. Who is on Yahweh's side? let him come unto me. And all the sons of Lawai gathered themselves together unto him. And he said unto them, Thus saith Yahweh, Most High of Israel, put every man his sword by his side, and go in and out from gate to gate throughout the camp, and slay every man his brother, and every man his companion, and every man his neighbor. And the children of Lawai did according to the word of Moses, and there fell of the people that day about 3,000 men. So they went through and they were killing everybody that was involved with the worship of this golden calf. They were killing everybody that was involved with that. And the sons of Lawai came through with their swords and killed all of 3,000 men. 3,000 men. Okay, so that is how serious the Most High, of course, takes idolatry and worshiping of another god. Notice they didn't mention anything about breaking the Sabbath, but they worshipped another god. That's what it is. Brothers and sisters, the most important commandment is the first one. Don't have any other god. If you can't get that one right, the rest of them don't matter. Are you hearing what I'm saying? You might refuse to work on the seventh day, but if you worship in Baal, what does it matter? Right? You could worship Baal on the seventh day too. Isn't that correct? I mean, if you refuse to work on the Sabbath, you tell your boss, I can't work on the seventh day because it's my religion, and you worship a statue or Baal or Christianity or white Jesus or some other object, doesn't matter that you're doing it on the Sabbath, does it? The Most High is not acknowledging your Sabbath keeping because, well, you're worshiping Baal, right? So if you can't get the first one right, that you're going to have no other gods but the Most High, that he is your only God, that the creator is your Father in heaven, and you're not having it with anything else, you want his spirit and no other spirit, then you'll keep the rest of them. You will, because you're going to love that one above all. You understand? Testing, you got that? So the sons of Lawai stood for the Most High at that time, and that's why they were separated or set apart by the Most High for the work of the sanctuary. Now, the priesthood has changed to the tribe of Judah because of the Messiah, but I don't believe it's a permanent change. Like, I believe there's going to be priests of the tribe of Levi in the kingdom, because you're going to have Levi in the kingdom, and they're going to still be priests, right? And the Most High does say you're going to take of them for Levites, right? He does say that in Isaiah 66, and he says it in other places as well. So he's going to have Levites still serve him as priests. He's still going to do that. And so maybe the 144,000, which also include the tribe of Levi, maybe they will be priests. I don't know. I'm just guessing here. I want to stop doing that. So, but I do know the priests, the Lawayim will be priests in the kingdom, and he's going to have priests in the kingdom. There's no question about that. So he blessed Lawayim. Let's continue. Deuteronomy chapter 33 from verse 12. From verse 12. And let's go down from verse 12 down to verse 17. Okay? Deuteronomy chapter 33 from verse 12 to verse 17. And of Benjamin, or Banyamin, he said, the beloved of Yahweh shall dwell in safety by him. Yahweh shall cover him all the day long. He shall dwell between his shoulders. Of Yaasaph, he said, blessed be Yahweh. Blessed of Yahweh be his land, for the precious things of heaven, for the dew, and for the deep that couches beneath, for the precious fruits brought forth by the sun, for the precious things put forth by the moon, for the chief things of the ancient mountains, for the precious things of the lasting hills, and for the precious things of the earth, and fullness thereof, and for the goodwill of him that dwelt in the bush. Let the blessing come upon the head of Yaasaph, and upon the top of the head of him that was separated from his brethren. His glory is like the firstling of his bullock, and his horns are like the horns of unicorns. With them he shall push the people together to the ends of the earth. They are the 10,000s of Ephraim, and they are the thousands of Manasseh. So Joseph, of course, is being represented by his two sons, Ephraim and Manasseh. In the 144,000 accounting, they don't mention Ephraim, they mention Manasseh and Joseph, but they don't mention Ephraim. And I believe so is because Ephraim is in Joseph, because he's in the loins of his father. Does that make sense? So they don't mention Ephraim or Dan among the 144,000. There's no mention of Ephraim. There's no mention of Dan. But there's a mention of Joseph. And of course, there's the mention of Manasseh. And those are the two tribes. So, because really, in terms of the number of people, there are more than 12, because you had Manasseh and Ephraim become their own tribe. Does that make sense? So you have 13 really, because you have Manasseh and Ephraim become their own tribe, but they're represented by their father Joseph. So the original 12 is Joseph. There's no mention of Ephraim and Manasseh. There's Joseph. So on the 12 gates, there'll be no Ephraim and Manasseh. There'll be Joseph, which represents both of those tribes. Does that make sense? So Joseph got a double blessing because he was separated from his brethren, and the Most High chose him. He had a double blessing. He got the blessing of the firstborn, and so that's why he got two tribes in Israel. Okay, Ephraim and Manasseh. He got two tribes, but both of those tribes were coming under the gate of their father Joseph, because Joseph is their father. Praise the Most High Yah. So he said a double blessing upon him that was separated from his brethren. Praise the Most High Yah. So Joseph, or Yaasaph, is blessed, and Benjamin is blessed. He said he shall dwell between his shoulders. That's like, picture a man standing with his son. His son is smaller than him. He's a little boy, and the man has he has his hands on his son's shoulders, like he's proud of his son, and he's standing behind his son. You understand? That's what's going on. You ever see that? So a man is standing behind his son. He's got his hands on his son's shoulders. They're watching something maybe, or they're looking at, observing something, and his son is between the shoulders of his father and the shadow of his father. That's Benjamin. That's a great blessing. Praise the Most High Yah. Praise the Most High. Okay, from verse 18 of Deuteronomy chapter 33, from verse 18 down to verse 23. Of Zebulun, he said, rejoice, Zebulun, in thy going out, and Issachar in thy tents. They shall call the people unto the mountain. There they shall offer sacrifices of righteousness. For they shall suck of the abundance of the seas, and of the treasures hid in the sand. Of Gad he said, blessed be he that enlargeth Gad. He dwelleth as a lion. He teareth the arm with the crown of the head. He provided the first part for himself, because there, in the portion of the lawgiver, was he seated. And he came with the heads of the people. He executed justice, the justice of Yahweh, and his judgments with Israel. And of Dan, he said, Dan is a lion's whelp. He shall leap from Bashan. And of Naphtali, he said, O Naphtali, satisfied with favor and full with blessing of Yahweh, possess thou the west and the south. Praise the Most High Yah. So he blessed. See, he's blessing all the tribes. It's just weird that he doesn't have Simeon here, but all right. He's blessing all the tribes. He's blessing everyone here. Praise the Most High Yah. Okay, let's continue. Deuteronomy chapter 33 from verse 24, and we'll finish this chapter, verse 29. We'll continue. We're going to finish chapter 34 today as well. So it's from verse 24 down to verse 29. And of Asher he said, let Asher be blessed with children. Let him be acceptable to his brethren. Let him dip his foot in oil. Thy shoes shall be iron and brass, and as thy days, so shall thy strength be. There is none like unto the Elohim of Yashar Rawan, who rideth upon the heaven in thy help, and in his excellency on the sky. The eternal Most High is thy refuge, and underneath are the everlasting arms. And he shall thrust out the enemy from before thee, and shall say, destroy them. Yashar then shall dwell in safety alone. The fountain of Jacob shall be upon a land of corn and wine. Also his heavens shall drop down dew. Happy art thou, O Yashar. Who is like unto thee, O people saved by Yahweh? The shield of thy help, who is the sword of thy excellency. Thine enemies shall be found liars unto thee, and thou shalt tread upon their high places. Ooh, that's a powerful thing at the end there. It says, thy enemies shall be found liars unto thee, and thou shalt tread upon thy high places. Let me explain why I say that that's heavy right there, because the Bible says, let the Most High be true and every man a liar. What does that mean? That means that when the Most High says something, it's true. And when somebody says the opposite, they lie. That's what a lie is. It's something that goes opposite of what the Most High says. So he's saying here, let thy enemies be found liars. So he's saying the nation of Israel is going to be the truth, and then everybody else is a liar. If you have any other situation, nation, religion, it's a lie. There's only one that's true. It's the one with the nation of Israel. He says, let thy enemies be found liars unto thee, and thou tread upon their high places. So the Bible says, all the gods of the nations are but idols, but the Most High Yah made the heavens. So the Creator is the God of the nation of Israel. He has chosen that people above all people. And any other people that try to create some other God, some other religion, some other situation is a lie. Is a lie. Thine enemy shall be found liars. Praise the Most High. There's only one God, and there's only one Messiah, and there's only one chosen people. Let me say that again. There's only one God. There's only one Messiah. There's only one chosen people. The Most High Creator is the only true God. He doesn't have any competition. The Most High Creator has created one belief system that comes to him and through his people. He has created no other. He works with people in their ignorance as they're stumbling through these other religions, but he ain't chosen those religions. There's a difference, right? What do you mean, brother? Well, when we were in darkness, he worked with us. We weren't always in this truth. The Bible says, Satan, the devil, deceiveth the whole world. Therefore, everybody that comes to him was at one time deceived, including us. So he works with us in our falsehoods, but he brings us to the truth. Praise the Most High Yah. And so at the end of this thing, when it's all said and done, all the other religions are going to be destroyed. They're going to be absolutely annihilated, never to exist again. All the other religions of the earth. There's but one true God. There's but one intermediary between them, between us and him. There's one nation that he is going to make an everlasting nation, his chosen nation. Praise the Most High Yah. That's right. That's right. Praise the Most High. Notice again, Deuteronomy chapter 34. I'm going to start at verse 1, Deuteronomy 34, from verse 1 down to verse 4. Deuteronomy 34, from 1 to 4. And Moses went up from the plains of Moab unto the mountain of Nebo, to the top of Pisgah, that is over against Jericho. And Yahweh showed him all the land of Gilead unto Dan, and all Naphtali, and the land of Ephraim and Manasseh, and all the land of Judah unto the utmost sea, and the south, and the plain of the valley of Jericho, the city of palm trees unto Zoar. And Yahweh said unto him, this is the land which I swear unto Abraham, unto Yashak, and unto Yaakov, saying, I will give it unto thy seed. I have caused thee to see it with thine eyes, but thou shalt not go over thither. So he allowed Moses, and Moses was begging him to see it. He was begging him to give him another chance. Most High said, no, you're not going to see it. You're going to see it, but you're not going in there. I'm going to let you see it. You're not going in because you didn't sanctify me before the people as you're supposed to. But now, we know the Most High had something else in store for Moses. He had something else in store for this man that was indeed before John the Baptist and before the 144,000 came into existence, Moses, the greatest of all prophets. Oh yeah, he must have, because he was really wanting to get in there. But Moses was the greatest of all prophets. And that's why the song of deliverance that the 144,000 sing is called the Song of Moses and the Lamb. It's called the Song of Moses and the Lamb. Let's not forget how important this man is to the Most High. We're not worshiping Moses now. As a matter of fact, I want to say this. We are called to be on Moses' level. Why do I say that? I say that because we are the last generation. We are called to live with the Most High so tight in his spirit that our face reflects his glory. We're called, like Moses, to be one with the covenant, right? But unlike Moses, we are going to get in to the promised land. Where Moses fell, we're going to go through. Because and partly it is because of the experience of seeing Moses' experience in the Word. But Moses is close to the Most High. As Moses saw Most High face to face, we will see him face to face. 144,000 will see him face to face. Yes, we will. Without seeing death, though. So, yeah, Moses is important. Praise the Most High. Let's continue. This is the part we're going to take a minute on. This is Deuteronomy chapter 34. I'm going to read from verse 5 and 6. Verse 5, actually 5, 6, and 7. Notice what it says here. So Moses, the servant of Yahweh, died there in the land of Moab, according to the word of Yahweh. Watch verse 6 very carefully. And he buried him in a valley in the land of Moab, over against Bath Peor. But no man knoweth of his sepulchre unto this day. And Moses was 120 years old when he died. His eye was not dim, nor his natural force abated. So the brother was still as strong at 120 as he was at 40. The brother was still as strong physically, spiritually, mentally. He was put down and he was buried. And the Bible says he buried him. Who buried him? Who buried him? And what happened to him? Why is it nobody knows where his grave is? Well, the Bible does give us this answer. Some people reject the answer, but I'm going to give you the Bible word on this subject. Notice again, the book of Jude, we mentioned it earlier. The book of Jude, which is the last book of the New Testament prior to the book of Revelation, is the book of Jude. It's a one-page, little small letter, but has some very powerful words in it. So let's take a look at this in Jude. Going to read just one verse, verse 9. Jude, verse 9. Notice what it says. Yet Michael, the archangel, when contending with the devil, he disputed about the body of Moses. Durst not bring against him a railing accusation, but said, Yahweh rebuke thee. There's a lot here. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. 28 words. And it says volumes. 28 words in this verse. And it speaks volumes. First of all, we talked about this earlier. When the Bible talks about Michael, that is Yahweh Shai. But it is giving you the word Michael to let you know this is an event that took place before Yahweh Shai came to the earth as a man. Okay, so this event obviously did, because this event was way before Yahushua came to earth as a man. So that's why they don't call him. He only became Yahushua when the angel Gabriel said, "Thou shalt call him Yahushua, for he shall save his people from their sins." That's when he became Yahushua. Prior to that, when he was in the courts of heaven, as he told his father, give me the glory that I had with thee before the earth was. He was Michael, the prince. So now here comes the prince, who is the archangel. Whoa, archangel. Do you see the word arch in there? Archangel. Do you see that? What is an angel that's an archangel? When you see the word ark there, that should tell you something. Archangel means an angel that is by the ark. What ark? The ark of the covenant. So there's an angel by the ark of the covenant. Mikael was there. Mikael, excuse me, the chief angel. Lucifer was there before he was kicked out. And now we know Gabar-al is there. Gabar-al, who they call Gabriel, who said, I am Gabriel who stand in the presence of Yahweh. That is the archangel. Praise the Most High. The archangel. So Gabriel is there now. Praise the Most High. So now you have Mikael contending with the devil about the body of Moses. Now, wait a minute. Let's stop for a second. Let's stop and think about this. Why would they be fighting over his body? That's the first question you have to ask. Why is Mikael and the devil fighting over Moses' dead body? I mean, he's dead. Why are they fighting over his body? Well, if you understand who Mikael is, Mikael has already told us as Yahushua that he is what? The resurrection and the life. He said to Martha and Mary, I am the resurrection. Isn't that powerful? That's powerful. He said, I am the resurrection. Right? So he said, whoever believes in me, though he were dead, yet shall he live. So he come Mikael, the resurrection. And he comes to the body of Moses. And there ain't but one thing he going to do with the body of Moses. I mean, he ain't going to just stare at it. I mean, right? He's Mikael. He ain't going to just stare at the body. He going to resurrect Moses. So here come Asatan. He wants not any part of that thing. You don't want that happening. Just like he didn't want Messiah to be resurrected, but he can't stop that either. So here he comes to dispute about the body of Moses. You could just hear him now. He sinned. He sinned. That's why you didn't let him in the promised land. He should not be resurrected because you know he's the accuser of the brethren. He's the accuser of the brethren. So he accusing Moses now. That's why he's disputing with Mikael about the body. You can't resurrect him. He sinned against you. He thinks he's a God. If you're going to resurrect him, you got to let me back in the courts of heaven. You got to let me back in now because Moses didn't already say he's a God. You told him to speak to the rock. He smoked the rock. You got to let me in. You're going to let him in. He didn't argue with Asatan. He said, Yahweh rebuked thee. Step aside. Step aside, punk. Step aside. We getting ready to take care of this business. And he resurrected Moses. How do we know Moses was resurrected? How do we know that? How do we know, brethren? How do we know that Moses was resurrected? How do we know that? How do we know that for a certainty that Moses is alive right now? How do we know that Moses is alive? How do we know that? Yes, he appears. That's exactly right. Yes, he does. Can you tell me where? Any of y'all know where he appeared? Yes, he did. He does appear. There's no question about that. He appears. Let's find him. Where is he? We got to have that Bible. We got to have that Bible. He's appearing on the mountain. That's exactly right. He's appearing on the mountain. That's right. Very good. That's right. He was appearing on the mountain. No. He was on the mountain, and he was talking to Yahushua about something. And it wasn't just him, right? It wasn't just Moses wasn't there by himself. Moses didn't come to Yahushua by himself. Aliyah was there too, and we know Aliyah is alive. How do we know? Because the Bible says he went to heaven by a whirlwind, so we know he was there. There's no question about that. He was there, right? They were both there. And the Bible says that he spoke to Moses and Elijah spoke to him about his decease, which he should accomplish at Jerusalem. Right? Let me find that. I'm looking for it. I think it's in Mark. I know it's in Matthew. I think it's in Mark as well. I thought it was Luke. But let's take a look. Let's take a look. Let's take a look. Let's take a look. Because, let's see. Oh, yes, I found it. It's in Mark chapter 9. Mark chapter 9. Mark chapter 9. Notice here, Mark chapter 9. And this is not the only place, because this one doesn't mention what they talked to him about, but there's another scripture. I thought it was Luke. There's another scripture that mentions that they were talking about him as he was going to, about what he was going to accomplish in dying at Jerusalem. They were actually talking to him about that. But let's look at Mark chapter 9 for now. Mark chapter, wait a minute, I found it. It's Luke chapter, this should be easy to remember. It's Luke chapter 9 and Mark chapter 9. Okay, we're going to read both of them. Luke chapter 9 and Mark chapter 9. So let's look Mark chapter 9 first. Mark chapter 9, I'm going to read from verse 1, and I'm going to go down to verse 9. Okay, from verse 1 down to verse 9, since we into nines and stuff. Notice what it says. And he said unto them, verily I say unto you, that there be some of them which stand here, which shall not taste of death till they have seen the kingdom of Yahweh come with power. And after 6 days, Yahweh shall take with him Peter, or Kapha, and Yaakov, and Yachanan, and leadeth them up into a high mountain apart by themselves. And he was transfigured before them. And his raiment became shining, exceeding white as snow, so as no fuller on earth can white them. And there appeared unto them Elijah and with Moses, and they were talking with Yahushua. And Kapha answered and said unto Yahushua, Master, it is good for us to be here. Let us make 3 tabernacles, one for thee, one for Moses, and one for Elijah. For he wist not what to say, for they were sore afraid. And there was a cloud that overshadowed them, and a voice came out of the cloud saying, This is my beloved son, hear him. And suddenly, when they had looked around about, they saw no man any more, save Yahushua only with themselves. And as they came down from the mountain, he charged them that they should tell no man of what things they had seen, till the Son of Man were risen from the dead. There you go. So Moses and Aliyah made themselves revealed to Messiah. They talked with him, and then Father came and talked with the Messiah, and Father said, This is my beloved son, hear him. Again, remember now, Messiah came to earth to represent his Father. That's why I say beginning was the Word was with Yahweh, and the Word was Yahweh, the same was in the beginning, and the Word was made flesh and dwelt among us. That is, Messiah came to represent his Father to the nation of Israel. Came to represent his Father. Praise the Most High. Let's look again at Luke chapter 9 now, beginning at verse 27. And I'm going to go down to verse 36, from verse 27 to verse 36 of Luke chapter 9. Okay, from verse 27 to verse 36. Notice again, but I tell you of a truth, there be some standing here which shall not taste of death till they see the kingdom of Yahweh. And it came to pass about 8 days after these sayings, he took Peter and John, or Kapha, and Yachanan and Yaakov, and went up into a mountain to pray. And as he prayed, the fashion of his countenance was altered, and his raiment was white and glistering. And behold, there talked with him 2 men, which were Moses and Aliyah, who appeared in glory and spake of his decease, which he should accomplish at Jerusalem. But Kapha and they that were with him were heavy with sleep. And when they were awake, they saw his glory and the 2 men that stood with him. And it came to pass, as they departed from him, Kapha said unto Yahushua, Master, it is good for us to be here. And let us make 3 tabernacles, one for thee, one for Moses, and one for Aliyah, not knowing what he said. While he thus spake, there came a cloud and overshadowed them, and they feared as they entered into the cloud. And there came a voice out of the cloud saying, This is my beloved son, hear him. And when the voice was past, Yahushua was found alone, and they kept it close and told no man in those days any of those things which they had seen. Praise the Most High. So again, he shows them, and they're talking to him about his death, what he's going to accomplish at Jerusalem. And it's important, of course, because the plan of justification by faith includes the death and resurrection of the Messiah. So they're there to encourage Messiah. Obviously, they're there to encourage him as he's going on. And when he says the kingdom, many people get confused. They say, what do they mean when he said they're going to show him the kingdom? Notice all the elements that are there. You have Messiah himself, and he's glorified, right? So that his raiment is so bright with whiteness that they couldn't even look at it. That's Messiah glorified. The Father came down in the cloud, right? So you have the Father there, Messiah is there. Then you have Aliyah and Moses. And if you think about it, Aliyah was not resurrected. Aliyah was translated into heaven. One of only two men translated, the other being Hanak, right? Hanak and Aliyah were the only two men that were translated into heaven without seeing death. So you have Aliyah translated. Moses was resurrected. So all the people that are in the kingdom of heaven are going to be one of those two people. They're only either going to be like Moses, where they're resurrected, or they're going to be Aliyah, where they're translated. So you got the people that have been translated and resurrected. You got Messiah in glory, and you got Moses. And you got the Father in the cloud. You got all the elements of the kingdom. Does that make sense? Everybody got me? That's why he said they're going to see the kingdom. Well, I don't know about time period, but I'm not sure what you mean by that. But I do know that you have a resurrected person and a person translated. All the elements of the kingdom are there. And that's why he said they shall see the kingdom. They're not going to die until they see the kingdom. That doesn't mean they were going to live all the way to the kingdom come. It's just saying they're not going to die until they see the kingdom. And 8 days later, they had a revelation of the kingdom, because you see the Messiah in glory. The Father was there. Obviously, you had Aliyah and Moses there. Okay, so they saw they saw the kingdom. They saw the kingdom. And so that's what he meant by that. So now, let's get back to Deuteronomy 34, so you can see here that Moses was resurrected by Mikael, and that you can see here there's a lot went on more than we know in Deuteronomy 34. So after Moses was died, the Most High buried him. He was buried, and then came back. Mikael, angels buried him, and he came back to resurrect him. Right? I mean, wow. So he come back to resurrect him. I don't know. It wasn't that same day, because we know that the Most High was with Yahushua as they went into the kingdom. And Makaah was there with his sword drawn. Remember that? He was there with his sword drawn as they going across the River Jordan to go into Jericho. So I'm not saying he couldn't be in two places at once. Obviously he could. But I'm thinking once they got to the land, they came back and got Moses and resurrected him. Praise the Most High. But they did do it. Okay, so let's go back to Deuteronomy chapter 34, and let's read from verse 5 down to verse 12 and finish this beautiful, powerful book, which by the grace of the Most High, this won't be the last time we read this book, because I like to read this book every year. I do. I like to read it every year. Aside from my regular Bible reading, this book is powerful. So let's look at Deuteronomy chapter 34 from verse 5 down to verse 12. So Moses, the servant of Yahweh, died there in the land of Moab, according to the word of Yahweh. And he buried him in a valley in the land of Moab, over against Bath Peor. But no man knoweth his sepulchre unto this day. And Moses was 120 years old when he died. His eye was not dim, nor his natural force abated. And the children of Yasha'al wept for Moses in the plain of Moab 30 days. So the days of weeping and mourning for Moses were ended. And Yahushua, the son of Noan, was full of the spirit of wisdom, for Moses had laid his hands upon him. And the children of Yasha'al hearkened unto him, and did as Yahweh commanded Moses. And there arose not a prophet since in Israel like unto Moses, whom Yahweh knew face to face, in all the signs and the wonders which Yahweh sent him to do in the land of Egypt, to Pharaoh and to all his servants and to all his land, and in all that mighty hand, and all the great terror which Moses showed in the sight of all Yasha'al. So that's why, again, Moses and the Lamb are closely aligned, because of course the Lamb knew the Most High face to face and knows the Most High face to face, and Moses knew the Most High face to face. They are only two prophets that knew the Most High face to face. Okay, not even Aliyah. No, Aliyah was translated. Nobody else knew the Most High face to face like these two men. Okay, praise the Most High Yah. And that they have that in common, and that Moses is unique. Praise the Most High Yah. That was beautiful. I love this book. I hate to see that we're done with it, but it's just for now.